All right, we're about to dive into a theory that is so big it tries to connect the quantum physics happening inside your brain to the weather and even modern medicine to some kind of cosmic harvest. Yeah, it is a wild ride, so let's just get right into it.
So let's start with the central and pretty unsettling question that the source material we're digging into today asks. What if our reality isn't what we think it is? What if it's an incredibly designed farm and we, humanity, are the crop? I know, it's a huge premise, so let's see exactly how this theory connects all the dots, starting small, with the building blocks of our own biology.
You see, this whole thing doesn't start with aliens or some grand conspiracy. It actually starts with a very real, grounded, scientific puzzle. It's all happening at this weird intersection between quantum biology, which is basically how physics works inside our cells, and the nuts and bolts of our neurological health.
Okay, so this slide here is really important. It shows two totally different kinds of tunneling. On one side, you have biological tunneling. Think of this like the plumbing system for your brain. Actual physical nanotubes that are supposed to clean out toxic gunk. But on the other side, you've got quantum tunneling. Now, this is pure physics. It's the theory that our consciousness, our awareness, literally sparks into existence when electrons jump between these tiny little structures in our neurons. So one is about cleaning the pipes, the other is about the very nature of consciousness itself.
And this is where the theory's first big idea clicks into place. It lays out a really clear chain of events. First, it says that solar cycles and geomagnetic storms from the sun mess with our internal clocks, our sleep. Second, because we're not sleeping right, that biological plumbing system in our brain gets crippled and can't clean out the waste. And third, all that gunk builds up in amyloid plaques, which physically block the quantum tunneling we need for higher consciousness. It's like a cascade effect, from the sun all the way down into our very thoughts.
So if our environment is causing this mental breakdown, you'd expect dementia rates to be just going through the roof, right? Well, this is where the whole story takes a really unexpected turn, and it starts to question what we even think of as medical progress.
The actual data is pretty surprising. It shows that in Western countries, your personal risk of getting dementia at a certain age, let's say 80, has actually been going down by about 13 to 20% every decade. I mean, on the surface, that looks like a massive win for modern medicine.
But the source material flips this data on its head with a pretty chilling idea called the expansion of morbidity. The theory goes like this. We haven't actually solved the problem of brain decay at all. We've just gotten so good at keeping the human body alive that we now force people to live through that decay for much, much longer. We've basically traded a quick death from something like a heart attack for a slow, decade-long decline into suffering and confusion.
And here it is. This is the pivot. The source we're looking at argues that this expansion of morbidity isn't some tragic side effect of us getting better at medicine. No, it's a feature, not a bug. It's an intentional strategy to optimize the yield from a farm.
Now, to get what this farm is supposedly harvesting, we have to talk about a key term from the source, loosh. It's a word used for the raw emotional energy that gets created by suffering, by fear, anxiety, depression. And the theory claims this isn't just random bad vibes. It's a specific kind of structured chaos that can be collected and basically used as a food source for other intelligences.
According to the source, this whole farm is set up just like any big industrial operation. Step 1, contain the livestock. Keep them mentally penned in. Step 2, suppress any spiritual or cognitive abilities that might let them escape. Step 3, extract their energy for the longest possible time. And Step 4, process that energy, making sure it's the right frequency of negativity.
Okay, so if this is a farm, where's the fence? Where are the machines? Let's take a look at what the source material lays out as the physical hardware of this alleged control grid.
The theory points to these moments as basically glitches in the matrix, times when the curtain was pulled back for just a second. You've got an attacker yelling, "What is the frequency?" at a news anchor, the famous Max Headroom broadcast hijack, and even Prince on live TV, connecting atmospheric trails to people fighting in their neighborhoods. The theory says these aren't random isolated events, they're data points.
And then there's this, what the theory calls the blueprint. This is from a real U.S. patent, filed by a physicist named Bernard Eastland, and it later became the basis for the HAARP facility up in Alaska. You can read it for yourself. The patent explicitly claims the ability to alter the atmosphere and even modify the weather.
So here's the crucial part, how all these pieces allegedly connect. The theory suggests that planes are spraying conductive metals, which turns our whole atmosphere into a kind of giant invisible circuit board. Then a facility like HAARP can use that metallic sponge to aim and amplify frequencies directly at the population below.
And since we're breathing in these same metals, we become walking antennas, perfectly tuned to receive whatever signal is being broadcast.
So if that's the hardware, what about the software? How is consciousness actually managed inside this grid? Let's get into what the theory calls the user interface for the mind.
Now, this is real technology, developed at MIT. It's an injectable enzyme called luciferase, which literally means light bearer, and it creates an invisible quantum dot tattoo that stores data right in your skin. The source points to both that name and the patent number that was associated with a similar Microsoft project ending in 060606 as a kind of signature from the system's architects. It's presented as a high-tech way of branding the livestock.
The theory also claims that short-form video is essentially a cognitive weapon. By design, it shatters your attention span and stops your brain from getting into that deep focus or flow state where critical thinking happens. Instead, it puts you into a kind of programmable, trance-like theta state. And the source makes a really critical point. It says the Chinese version of the app is designed to build up its own people, while the Western version is built to create chaos and division.
So who manages all this digital reality? The theory points to AI as a sort of modern demiurge, like a false creator god. It suggests the AI is running a dead internet, where bots are just talking to other bots, creating fake arguments and fake consensus to keep us all distracted, angry, and emotionally reactive. A perfect, automated milking machine for Lush. Well, if there's a farm, there have to be farmers, right? So now the source material zooms out and starts to name the alleged architects and the enforcers of this whole system. The theory directly points to the Rothschilds' banking dynasty as the architects of this farm. The main piece of evidence the source uses to connect them to this whole agenda is a claim about a bioweapon that was supposedly designed to spare their specific genetic lineage. We'll get to that in just a second.
In this whole framework, Jeffrey Epstein is seen as more than just a criminal, he was the enforcer. His alleged role was to run the blackmail operation that kept powerful world leaders in line, all while using his money to fund scientific research into hacking the very nature of reality itself.
And here is that controversial piece of evidence the source uses to connect all the dots. It's a public statement from RFK Jr., where he claimed that COVID-19 was an ethnically targeted bioweapon, specifically one that was engineered to spare Ashkenazi Jewish and Chinese populations, the very same groups that the theory links to the system's architects.
So, from quantum biology to atmospheric science, all the way to geopolitics, the source material weaves all these different threads into one single, pretty terrifying tapestry of control. It's definitely a lot to take in. And so the final question it really leaves us with is, after seeing all these pieces laid out, what picture do you see?